All right, so today we are stopping in San Fernando, and I asked Ryan to look up a few things, and I said, find something that you have interest in, and we go and do a little bit of blog around it. And here we are at the historic train station in San Fernando, built in 1892. And this station has a lot of history, especially when it comes to wars. The latest one in the Second World War, and also the Spanish American, the Liberation and War in the 1800s. And I will touch on that further into the video. Ryan, my bodyguard, and I decided to take a little ride and go down and look at something really old. So, and that is a historic train station down in San Fernando. So let's see what the sign says here. Listed in the National Historical Institute of April of 2005. This thing was inaugurated on February 23, 1892 as part of the Mabalacat stretch of the Manila-Dagupan railway system by Governor General Eulogio Despuyol and Archbishop, can't even see, it's destroyed, Fernando Pampanga or something like that. Jose Rizal disembarked from the station on June 27, 1892. That's another history of Jose Rizal. 1892 visit his friends in San Fernando and Bacolor, possibly to recruit them as members of the La Liga Filipina or something. You know, he was a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
You know history about him. During the World War II, death march in April 1942, it was ending point of the 102-kilometer long walk from Bataan. Okay, so this is the end point. We have done some videos down there. We did some videos down there last year, I think, where the whole thing started in Bataan, in Mariveles.
Yeah.
That's like the starting point. So it's a long walk, guys. It's a long walk. It takes about 2 hours, 3 hours to drive. Okay, by Filipino, American, European prisoners of war. From here, the POWs were stuffed into box carts and transported to Capas Tarlac en route to the final destination of Camp O'Donnell, which was like a concentration camps that for Filipino and American soldiers. The Japs had occupied that whole area up there, you know, and we're gonna go. We'll just so here you see this death march, 102 kilometers. Yeah, horse is right here, right? Horse buggy, right? Death march ended right here. Okay. So after a little temperature check and a signing of a health declaration form that you're well, don't have any illness, flu symptoms or anything, I think we're just about ready to enter in and check a few things out. All right, so the first thing I see here is these, I'm assuming they're bronze statues, and to the right here you have a Japanese guard, and you also have one here on the other side, and the people that are on the ground sitting symbolizes the prisoners that consisted of American and Filipino soldiers, and there might have been some other nation that volunteered in here also. I saw some of that in the history. But these things have an incredible detail. You can almost see their eyes. Some of them you could see scars and tears. Whoever did them did a really good job. And I noticed they have a lot of news media, paper clips in frames back here, so we're going to go and have a quick look at it. Just looking at these statues and the details of them. They are, the artist or whoever made these did a really fantastic job. It's so much detail in it. All right, let's go back to this wall here. So I guess this is the surrender announcement from President Truman, and that is the Philadelphia Inquirer, actually. So that was a few years back. What is it? 70 years, 80 years, whatever. And I wasn't born. However, my father was, and he has told me a little bit about stories, how the Germans walked through Sweden, even though Sweden got spared. But I think sometimes that was too cowardliness, and people didn't stand up to the Germans when they came. Death over 400. I think this is related to Guam and raids that were in there in Pearl Harbor. This war ended eventually, even after a lot of suffering. And me, for personally, I hope we never have to go through and live through something like that ever again. Even though humanity sometimes can be pretty evil. So I'm going to touch on the two wars briefly here, and this station was the end point for what we know as the Varane Death March, and this was before the Japanese capitulated and gave up, and I think they forced a transfer of about 60 to 80,000 American and Filipino prisoners of war from the Bagak in Bataan and Maraveles, and they were transported up to the final destination was Camp O'Donnell in Kapas Tarlac via this train station. And this was kind of the location where they put these soldiers on the train in boxcars, and as if it wasn't bad enough walking, I think the march lasted for days, and the first 3-4 days, rumors are, and they're probably true, that they were not fed any food and no water. So many of them succumb under dehydration, and also, drinking the water they were allowed to drink came out of basically sewage wells, and that caused people to have severe dehydration and dying from it. Symbol here, if you have been here, they have several of these along the road as markers where the actual march took place. And in here you have some historical images and photographs. I don't know how good that is going to come out through the glass. The sun is shining in here, so there's a lot of sparkle in the sun. But you get the point. This is kind of a little interesting look at the money there. Amazingly how they look like US dollars, actually, if you take a look at it. I guess that could have something to do with that. During that time, I think the Philippines were still not independent country at that point. I believe that also took place in the 40s, where they became a totally independent from any foreign power, whether that be Spain or the United States. I think that happened around that time. All right, some of these images are pretty rough at looking at, actually. You know, they didn't have the computer warfare at that time. They were, I shouldn't say real soldiers, because we have them today, but we have the ability to massively reduce casualties in these wars through technology. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up and walk around here. I'm gonna mention real quick about the Spanish War and Rizal. So Rizal was and is by many Filipinos considered a national hero, and he utilized his train station, I believe, just about a month before he got arrested. The Spanish colonial government saw him as a threat, and he was actually executed by the Spanish colonial government, and they called it for the crime of rebellion after the Philippine Revolution. So many freedom fighters were actually following him, and that's a little bit of the history of that part. So it's pretty amazing. Philippines has a lot of history from different wars. The colonial times, Spaniards was here, and so on and so forth. And you know, I have a little interest in checking these things out. We've been down to Bataan, which was part of the defense in the Second World War. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I need to find me a narrator and scriptwriter, but you probably get something out of it. And we will see you soon again in our next video. And don't forget our live feeds. And God bless. Wait, don't click that button unless, of course, you hit the subscribe button. And then you can move on. And while you're down there, hit the notification button as well. And if you leave a like or a comment, we will personally respond to you on all or any request you might have. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you again.